Hello, 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 and welcome back to the channel, guys. I just realized I don't have my headphones plugged in. I started talking, like, why can't I hear a thing? Okay, can I hear myself now? That's so much better. I was really confused for a moment. Today we're going to listen to Leonard Cohen. We're going to listen to the first track off of his album, his 1967 and debut album, Songs of Leonard Cohen. So, when it comes to Mr. Cohen, I don't believe, it's possible, I don't believe I've ever heard a song of his. Now, hold on. I know for a fact that I've heard, like, part of Hallelujah. Because if I remember correctly, it was used in the trailer for Watchmen oh so many years ago. But that song, I don't think I've ever heard the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I know I haven't ever heard the whole thing, but I've heard the beginning of it. But as far as I know, that's the only song that I know from him. I've always heard of him, and I've always wanted to listen to him, because back when I had first discovered, this is what, I don't know, 12 years ago, however long ago I discovered David Sylvian, and I was really looking for music like that. I was recommended Scott Walker, which I did listen to a little bit more from, and I was also recommended Leonard Cohen, but I never actually listened to him. I never got that far. So today we're going to go ahead and listen to this track here. I also have two albums here that were gifted to me. It will be The Future and I'm Your Man, but I want to listen to this one first. I want to get to his debut just a little bit, listen to this, and this was recommended to me a few times as well. So I'm excited to go ahead and listen to the music. Like I said, I've heard so much about him, and this would be the first time actually listening to him. So let's go ahead and get into the music. Suzanne, Leonard Cohen.
And you want to travel with her, and you want to travel blind. And she shows you where to look.
Okay, that was absolutely gorgeous. God, this happens sometimes. This happens sometimes when I'm just in a certain mood. I pick certain songs and it's just an immediate click. What a soothing, comforting voice Leonard Cohen has. It's deep. It's his debut album, but it feels refined. It feels so natural. He's really just speaking to us. He's really just taking us campfire side and just speaking to us, telling us this story, telling us about Suzanne. I love that. The lyrics, oh, there's some depth in there that I'm going to dive into because there's so much to take in on this track. The guitar playing is just comforting and relaxing. It just takes you in and just rocks you back and forth gently. And then there's some female harmonies in there that I wasn't expecting. When the music picks up just a little bit, I was like, oh, this is a really nice touch. You know, it started with, singer-songwriter just voicing guitar, and then before you knew it, there was just a little bit, not at all overindulgent, just a little bit of extra going along in there. That's going to be Nancy Pretty, who's going to be doing the female vocals here. She was an American actress, or is an American actress and singer-songwriter. She has appeared on Bewitched, The Waltons, Matlock. She is the mother of Christina Applegate. Is Christina Applegate? She's from Married with Children. I think it's Married with Children, right? I think so. Regardless, man, this actually hits in that perfect way. Now, is it Cohen that's actually playing the guitar as well? Or is he just singing? Is it someone else playing the guitar? No, it looks like it is him that's playing the guitar here as well. God, that's gorgeous, guys. That's incredibly beautiful. And with just some light string arrangements just sprinkled on top of it. Incredible. And that's his debut album. This is his debut album, I should say. So I need to know, like, what was he doing before this? Because from the first track on the debut album, to me, we're already, like, we're already gone. So I need to know, what was he doing before this? Like, was he just training and, learning guitar and singing to himself before this? Of course, I'd assume so, practicing to himself. Was he doing concerts or such before this? Like, that's incredible, in my opinion. I think this was an incredibly beautiful track. I don't even know what else to say about it. Breathtaking. That's all. Suzanne takes you down to her place near the river. You can hear the boats go by. You can spend the night beside her, and you know that she's half crazy, but that's why you want to be there. and she feeds you tea and oranges that come all the way from China. And just when you mean to tell her that you have no love to give her, then she gets you on her wavelength, and she lets the river answer that you've always been her lover. Who is Suzanne? Because it could be a literal person. I think it's a metaphor for something. She feeds you tea and oranges. Orange tea is pretty good. I like orange tea. You know that she's half crazy, but that's why you want to be there. And just before you tell her that you have no love to give her, she gets you on her wavelengths, and she lets the river answer that you've always been her lover. There's some deep meaning in this. Like, I can tell there is, but I honestly don't know just yet what that is. And you want to travel with her, and you want to travel blind. And you know that she will trust you, for you've touched her perfect body with your mind. I like that line, and you want to travel blind. You want to travel without unnecessarily having a destination, without necessarily having a goal or a place to go to. You just want to travel with her. You just want to experience that journey with her. But who is her? And then we bring in Jesus for some sailing. And Jesus was a sailor, and he walked upon the water. And he spent a long time watching from his lonely wooden tower. And when he knew for certain only drowning men could see him, he said, all men will be sailors then, until the sea shall free them. God, that's such a good line. I like when he says only drowning men could see him. Like, yeah, when you're near death, that's when you see Jesus. And then he says all men will be sailors then, until the sea shall free them. Like, free them from their mortal coil. But they'll be sailing in a completely different aspect. Like, they'll be sailing in heaven, in a sense. Also, I'm sorry if you hear music. Someone just pulled up with a lot of music. But he himself was broken long before the sky would open. Like, his legs weren't broken, right? No, I don't remember. No, his legs weren't broken, but his, perhaps, body was broken before the heavens opened up. Forsaken, almost human, he sank beneath your wisdom like a stone. And you want to travel with him, and you want to travel blind. Did it change? Yeah, because in the first verse, he says you want to travel with her, which is talking about Suzanne. And then here he's talking about traveling with Jesus. But it's that same concept of this journey into the unknown. Ah! Then going to the third verse, now Suzanne takes your hand as she leads you to the river. She is wearing rags and feathers from Salvation Army counters, and the sun pours down like honey on Our Lady of the Harbor, and she shows you where to look. Among the garbage and the flowers, there are heroes in the seaweed, there are children in the morning. They are leaning out for love, and they will lean that way forever, while Suzanne holds the mirror. And you want to travel with her. I don't know. There's just something really mysterious about Suzanne and the character, and the way she's described, the effect she has on Leonard here. I want to read about this one. I see that there is a Wikipedia article about this one. So it says that Suzanne was inspired by Cohen's platonic relationship with dancer Suzanne Verdel. Its lyrics describe the rituals that they enjoy when they met. Suzanne would invite Cohen to visit her apartment, where she would serve him constant comment tea, and they would walk around Old Montreal past the church of Notre Dame de Bon Secours, where sailors were blessed before heading out to sea. Okay. Verdel says that she and Cohen never had a sexual relationship, contrary to some interpretations of the song. That's really cool. I like how this song has so much mystery and so much thought and metaphor behind it, but it's just, in a sense, I should say just inspired by him and her walking around the harbor and drinking tea and just like their friendship. That's actually incredibly beautiful. So much can come out in song. So much can come out from just like the simplest of acts, which I always find fascinating, to be honest, when it comes to music and such. If you don't mind, and I really doubt you do, I would like to listen to the next track, because I think that was just so incredibly beautiful that for myself it would be painful to stop there. So let's move on to the next track here, which is going to be Master Song. Let's go.
Where they take your clothes at the door. Now your love is a secret all over the block, and it never stops. And will you kneel beside this bed? I'm sure that he told you everything I must keep locked away in my head.
This is so exciting. when you discover an album that just immediately clicks with you, it's one of the greatest feelings ever. I think this is masterful. Pardon the pun. This is great. I don't know when I'm gonna stop, but this once again, that gentle voice, that gentle guitar. There, you could listen to his voice. I feel like the song is repetitive, right? With little spritzes of lemon zest, touches of like little organ at like just sparse moments, and then of course, little sweeps of orchestra. I feel like if you were to put Leonard Cohen's voice like into a waveform for this track, it would look really samey. Like it would look just like a block. But there's something that a computer cannot show you, and that's the emotional depth in a singer's voice. So while his voice may retain like, or may work in a very specific range in this track, it's those nuances of character development, of story, that are going on, of meaning and depth and conversations and experiences in these characters, that is something a computer can never capture. That's something you have to listen to with your ears. That's something you and I, as people, as humans, have to listen to and feel and relate to ourselves. It's so masterful the way that he does that. I'm really enjoying this a lot. A lot, if you couldn't tell. And the lyrics, extremely touching, very moving. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in the track. I don't know if this is a master and a slave, and the slave was sent away from one master who perhaps loves this slave, and now the slave is with a new master who is mistreating her in some ways. Or perhaps this isn't necessarily about literal slavery. It could just be, you know, Leonard and this particular person had a relationship together. They broke up, and now she's with this new person, and he's saying that's her new master. And is he treating her right? Could be. I believe that you heard your master sing when I was sick in bed. I suppose that he told you everything that I keep locked away in my head. Your master took you traveling, well, at least that's what you said, and now do you come back to bring your prisoner wine and bread? So he's saying that he's still a prisoner to her, even though she's with this new master. You met him at some temple where they take your clothes at the door. He was just a numberless man in a chair who'd just come back from the war. And you wrap up his tired face in your hair, and he hands you the apple core. Then he touches your lips, now so suddenly bare, of all the kisses we put on sometime before. What a great way of saying that they're not together anymore. He touches your lips, now so bare, of all the kisses we put on sometime before. That's so good. The writing is brilliant. Genuinely. And he gave you a German shepherd to walk with a collar of leather and nails, and he never once made you explain or talk about all of the little details. He took you up in his aeroplane, which he flew without any hands, and you cruised above the ribbons of rain that drove the crowd from the stands. Then he killed the lights in a lonely lane, and an ape with angel glands erased the final wisp of pain with the music of rubber bands. I'm not exactly sure what's happening there, to be honest. But I think that's basically what he's describing. I think he's a little bit bitter about the relationship. I think he's a little bit bitter about his romantic partner being with someone else here in Master Song. I'm trying to see really quickly if I can find anything specific about this track on here. I'm just looking really quick. Just give me a moment. Initially, Hammond had Cohen work up the guitar parts for Master Song with jazz bassist Willie Roof, and then brought in some of New York's top session musicians to join them, a move that made Cohen nervous. The dynamic between Cohen and Ruff had been intimate and natural, but the arrival of more anonymous personnel unnerved Cohen, the studio novice put off by their proficiency. Interesting. So maybe he felt a little bit, what's the word? I just had it. He felt a little bit intimidated, perhaps. Because this is his debut. This is his first time, it seems, working in the studio and stuff. And he felt, like I said, he felt comfortable working with Willie Roof, or Ruff, who was a jazz bassist. But all these other people, he kind of made him feel nervous, which I think is really interesting to see that. Cohen did ask for a full-length mirror to be brought into the studio because, through some version of narcissism, I always used to play in front of a mirror. I guess it was the best way to look while playing the guitar, or maybe it was just where the chair was, but I was very comfortable looking at myself playing. I don't think there's anything weird about that, to be honest. If that's what it takes to have a little bit of comfort in yourself and in your playing, something as simple as that, then I think that's a very smart idea to do that. Let's go ahead and listen to the next track, and then I'll read some more of those facts and such, but I want to listen to more. The next track on here is going to be Winter Lady, so let me go ahead and pull that one up, and we'll give it a listen.
Well, I live with a child of snow. I know I'm not your lover.
Oh, man. We're going to end up listening to this whole thing, aren't we? Okay. Winter Lady, once again, so sweet in the guitar, so sweet in his lyricism, the way he sings, and in his voice itself. But once again, it's those little additional instruments. Okay, so you got some bluesy guitar that just is just so thinly veined throughout this track. It's so thinly veined in the bloodstream of it that, yeah, it's noticeable, but how small of a detail does it make to make this feel so alive and so beautiful? A little bit of guitar as well. The flute comes in, or a flute of some sort comes in. There's a lot of other instruments in here, but they're so sparsely placed, like, to not detract from the theme, the message, and Leonard Cohen himself. It doesn't detract or at all even take away in any small part. It's nothing but a very fine addition to this track. And even what he's singing about, this traveling lady, stay a while until the night is over. I'm just a station on your way. I know I'm not a lover. Even this track, I don't know if it's the shortest one on the album. This track is the shortest one on the album. So if you even want to do a fourth wall break, this traveling lady is just traveling through, and he's asking her, you can stay. I'm just a station on your way, but, for a brief moment. It's the shortest track on the album, so for us as listeners, this is just a brief station. And then we're moving on just like this Winter Lady, which I don't know if that was the intention, but either way, it's a really nice little fourth wall break. She used to wear her hair like you, except when she was sleeping, and then she'd weave it in a loom of smoke and gold and breathing. And why are you so quiet now, standing there in the doorway? You chose your journey long before you came upon this highway. Traveling lady, stay a while until the night is over. I'm just a station on your way. I know I'm not your lover. Also, I missed a verse. Let me go back to the second verse. Well, I lived with a child of snow when I was a soldier, and I fought every man for her until the nights grow colder. So he's talking about his experiences now in the war. Now, was Leonard Cohen actually a soldier at one point in his life? And this is perhaps... I don't know how much truth there is, in some of the stories or not, especially as I'm unfamiliar with him in a sense. So I just want to know if he's speaking from experience, or perhaps he's just, singing a song. It doesn't have to necessarily be an actual story behind it. But regardless, I think that it's a very beautiful song. I like how he says he's not her lover. Like, I don't know if that's saying, like, I know I'm not your husband, but, if you want to or if he's just saying, like, don't worry, there's nothing to worry about here, kind of thing. You can stay here without any sort of worry of anything. I don't know, but this is really, really gorgeous. It says that, I'm just looking at Genius now. It says that the song is about an encounter with either a prostitute or perhaps a simple one-night stand. I guess this is in a film as well. Was this used in a film? This is one of 3 songs to appear in the offbeat 1971 Western McCabe and Miss Miller. All 3 were written by Leonard Cohen and are performed by him in the solo film. Okay, so I guess he performs this song as well as 2 others in that film. In the film, the relationship is between McCabe and his madam, Miss Miller, a relationship that was doomed to fail. Okay. Either way, beautiful song. So let's move on to the next one here, the Stranger song. Let's go.
It's true that all the men you knew, so say I told you when I came I was a stranger. You try the handle of the road, it opens. I told you when I came I was a stranger.
So I have a question for those of you who are familiar with guitars and Leonard Cohen, perhaps. Is the guitar playing hard that he's doing? To me, anything guitar-wise is hard. I've tried playing guitar once or twice in my life, and it never quite worked out. I just don't have the dexterity for it. Or maybe I do, but I didn't give that much time towards it. But it just sounds like in this song, the rapid playing, not like that. But, you know, can't even make my mouth move that fast. It just sounds maybe not necessarily complicated in, like, changes throughout the music, because there aren't really many, besides, like, up shifts and downs. But it sounds like the actual pattern that he's playing is difficult and requires some dexterity. I'm not sure. I don't really know. I really like how low his voice, almost in a hushed tone here in the music is. Now, I'm not sure. It may have been on my end. It really could have been on my end. But there was even a moment that sounded like in the middle, perhaps, like he got a little like too close to the microphone and it kind of backed up, like it popped a little bit. Honestly, that genuinely could have been my setup. If not, I think it's really cool that that's in there. This track doesn't really have any extra accoutrement to it. This one really is him and the guitar. First of all, I love that blazing pattern that just plays through the whole way. This is some really, really good folk kind of music as well. And I'm wondering if Nick Drake was inspired by Leonard Cohen and his music, because that's what I'm kind of getting out of this a little bit as well. The lyrics here seems to be like just two strangers in the night, two lovers who just, they meet up and they try to plan their next rendezvous with each other, but it just never quite works out. Their schedules don't quite line up. Now, of course, that could be literal schedules, as he talks about a train schedule at one point, but it also could just be like their place in life at certain points. It's true that all the men you knew were dealers who said they were through with dealing. Every time you gave them shelter, I know that kind of man. It's hard to hold the hand of anyone who is reaching for the sky just to surrender. I think he's just saying, you know, I know that you've dealt with a lot of men who said they're good guys, but they're not, you know, just to put it simply, and that you gave them shelter in a sense. He says, I know that kind of man. You know, I understand where you're coming from. And then sweeping up the jokers that he left behind, you find he didn't leave you with very much laughter. I love that line. He left you the jokers, the cards on the table, but he didn't leave you with much laughter. Like any dealer, he was watching for the card that is so high and wild. He'll never need to deal another. He was just some Joseph looking for a manger. Great lines in here. That's what I mean. Like, the writing is really superb and really top notch. Like, Joseph looking for the manger for Jesus or whatever. So he's saying that this guy was just looking. I don't know exactly what the word would be, but just like as Joseph was looking for the manger for his baby, perhaps. Oh, well, the guy's looking for shelter. You know, a metaphor, so to speak. And then leaning on your windowsill, he'll say one day you caused his will to weaken with your love and warmth and shelter. And then taking from his wallet an old schedule of trains, he'll say, I told you when I came I was a stranger. But now the stranger seems to want to ignore his dreams as though they were the burden of some other. Like, he's telling her all the things that she wants to hear. But she's now wizened and experienced and understands his game. She's not going to get played like that hand of cards again. She's not going to be dealt like that again. You tell him to come in, sit down, but something makes you turn around. The door is open. You can't close your shelter. You try the handle of the road. It opens. Do not be afraid. It's you, my love. You who are the stranger. So maybe it's not a one-way street. Maybe this avenue goes both ways. I love the way that Cohen is telling stories in his music. He really puts a lot of detail and effort into the story itself. And it doesn't get lost, you know? Like, perspective-wise, sometimes Leonard's speaking from first person, sure, but I often feel like he's talking from, like, the narrator who's just narrating the story and what happened with these characters. Sometimes he kind of gets involved, but sometimes it's more from, like, an outside point of view. And then it ends with, and then leaning on your windowsill, he'll say one day you caused his will to weaken. What he repeated before with, I told you when I came I was a stranger. Perhaps he's kind of reiterating to her, you never knew me. So how can you pretend to know me? I don't know. Like I said, there's some lyrical depth in here. There's a lot of meanings you could take from this and look into. Gorgeous, guys. Gorgeous. Let's move on to the last track on this particular side of the album, Sisters of Mercy. Let's just let it go.
All the sisters of mercy, they are not depart. Well, I've been where you're hanging, I think I can see on their hand. Soon. Don't turn.
Almost like a soft mountain lullaby to kind of end this side of the album and to kind of put you down before you would have to flip the record over and everything. Once again, I'm just led along this trail with warmth and care, you know, and I feel kind of reassured when I'm listening to this track and I'm listening to Leonard Cohen's voice kind of just taking you along, you know, almost like a fatherly kind of voice to kind of take you through the motions of the track and everything. I thought it was really interesting, that carnival-like sound that came in about a third of the way in or so. One, it completely changed the mood of the music into something, I guess maybe that's why I'm kind of thinking of like a child and listening to their parents and stuff like that. I don't know, it just puts me in a carnival kind of mind. But also, production-wise, it was interesting that that sound on my end entered on the right, came center, and then actually left on the left. So it was like it was a traveling band, which kind of puts my mind even closer into this traveling mindset. It says here, "Oh, the sisters of mercy," reading the lyrics, "Oh, the sisters of mercy, they are not departed or gone. They were waiting for me when I thought that I just can't go on. And they brought me their comfort, and later they brought me their song. Oh, I hope you run into them, you who've been traveling so long." Once again, could be literal people that he met on some travels, which it definitely could be. Or it could just be metaphors for some sort of hope. While he was traveling, while he was growing weary and growing tired and about to throw in the towel, he found these sisters of mercy that helped him to keep going. Yes, you who must leave everything that you cannot control. It begins with your family, but soon it comes round to your soul. Well, I've been where you're hanging. I think I can see how you're pined or pinned. When you're not feeling holy, your loneliness says that you've sinned. So this is now the song that they've sung to him to keep him going. Then he says, "Well, they laid down beside me. I made my confession to them." Okay, so sisters, they must be like nuns. Okay. "I made my confession to them. They touched both of my eyes, and I touched the dew on their hem." So I like that. Like, so they touched his eyes. I'm assuming kind of like how Jesus would heal the blind. Like, so these sisters touched his eyes. So perhaps in his journey, he felt blind, or they thought he was blind, perhaps spiritually blind, right? And then he touched the dew on their hem. Kind of like how in that lady that had the blood issue touched the hem of Jesus and she was healed. You see, like, all these little like relations, that's just really cool the way that that's written. "Well, they lay down beside me, I made my confession to them." Oh, I read that part. "If your life is a leaf that the seasons tear off and condemn, they will bind you with love that is graceful and green as a stem." I like that. If life is like a leaf that's been taken off of the tree of life, eventually, you know, when you take a leaf off of a tree, eventually the tree, I'm sorry, not the tree, the leaf will begin to brown and eventually die because it's not connected to that source of life. They are, in a sense, reconnecting him to that source of life. Once again, I'm getting a spiritual sense out of this. "When I left, they were sleeping. I hope you run into them soon. Don't turn on the lights. You can read their address by the moon. And you won't make me jealous if I hear that they sweetened your night. We weren't lovers like that, and besides, it would still be all right." I just love that. He's saying to, like, future travelers, like, hey, if you ever are traveling, you might run into them. And they will refresh you. They will keep you going. They will energize you. And I like how he takes away some thoughts that people could have had when listening to the song. Because he says, we weren't lovers like that. This isn't like some metaphor for something else. We weren't lovers like that. But he does acknowledge, besides, it would still be all right if we were. It wouldn't matter. But that's not what this story's about. I just love how he throws that line in there at the very end. And then I see this little interview about this track from Leonard, where he says, "That's the only one song I wrote in one sitting. The melody I had worked on for some time. I didn't really know what the song was. I remember that my mother liked it." That's cute. I like that. He says, I was in Edmonton, which was one of our largest northern cities, and there was a snowstorm, and I found myself in a vestibule with two young hitchhiking women who didn't have a place to stay. I invited them back to my hotel, and there was a big double bed, and they went to sleep in it immediately. They were exhausted by the storm and cold, and I sat in this stuffed chair inside the window beside the I apologize to all my friends up north. Saskatchewan River. And while they were sleeping, I wrote the lyrics. And that never happened to me before. And I think it must have been wonderful to be that kind of a writer. It must be wonderful. That's awesome. Once again, the experiences, these random experiences, like he met two women, had shelter, he gave them shelter from the storm, and he came up with this song. That's just, I don't know. I love that type of writing. And he even says, it must be wonderful to be that kind of writer, because he says that he is not typically. So that's just really cool. Hey, if you don't mind while you're here, the next side of the album is 5 more songs here. I wasn't planning on, like, legitimately, I mean, by the intro, I was planning on recording 1 song, because that's what I was planning to have time for. I have other things I kind of want to do. But I actually would like to just go ahead and finish out the album. But listen, you got to put family and such first. Let me just make sure I actually can, like, have a little bit more time to record and stuff like that, because my wife and I do want to do some other things. And I will come back with an answer for you. We'll do a little edit. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back again. All right, talk to the wife. So we're still gonna have lunch and stuff like that. I was just letting her, like, I'm gonna be like just a little bit longer. But you have to make sure it's okay. You got to get clearance. Because like I said, I really was planning to be here for like maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so. But I want to make sure I have the time to actually sit back and relax, you know? So we're going to just go get lunch after. So let me go ahead, pull up the next track. Hope you guys are enjoying this today. I really wasn't expecting to do this. That's going to be So Long, Marianne. So let's go ahead, pull it up, and get it playing.
Come over. I forget to pray for the angel. You held on to me like I was a crucifix. Oh, so long, Marianne.
I have to imagine that Marianne is a real person. That's too much like an ode to Marianne. I love how he describes his relationship with this person. I love the words that he's using. This song, I don't know. It had to have been a single, though. This one is definitely more upbeat, and there's a lot more instrumentation going on in this one compared to all the bare, naked elements of the past side of the album. This opens up this side, and you're opening up with a flash. You have the drums that are brought in. I mean, they're they're playing with brushes, it seems, but like you have the drums that are brought in. Of course, you have the vocals once again. I'm imagining that's going to be Nancy again. They come in here? Yeah, Nancy is in here again on this one, and I love that swing in the chorus. The laugh and cry and laugh. I love that. And not only just the natural swing of the melody and the way that that's placed rhythmically, but because of what's being said. Like in their relationship, they're laughing, they're crying, they laugh a little bit more. They, like it goes back and forth, it rocks back and forth. So that's just a really good way of melodically and rhythmically making those notes swing, making those lines swing, while still maintaining that thematic continuity as well. That's really, really good. The guitar plays a little bit more upbeat as well. You have, I'm guessing like a fiddle. I think maybe a fiddle being used in this one. Something else is in there. But regardless, it's a really, really nice way to open up this particular side of the album. I'm looking on Wikipedia about this particular track, and it says, the song was inspired by Marianne Jensen, whom Cohen met on the Greek island of Hydra in 1960. There's a Greek island called Hydra. That is so, so cool. She had recently been left by her husband, leaving her and their 6-month-old son alone on the island. The two hit it off, and Cohen ultimately took her from Hydra back to his home in Oslo, Norway. He later invited her and her son to live with him in Montreal, which she accepted. The two lived together throughout the 1960s. That's really cool. That's really cool. He says that I began this on Aylmer Street in Montreal and finished it a year or so later. I didn't think I was saying goodbye, but I guess I was. She gave me many songs, and she has given songs to others too. She is a muse. And a lot of people I know, a lot of people I know think that there is nothing more important than making a song. Fortunately, this belief arises infrequently in their conversation. That's cool. So this is his, like I said, his ode to her. So let's go into the lyrics with that in mind then. Come over to the window, my little darling. I'd like to try to read your palm. I used to think I was some kind of gypsy boy before I let you take me home. Now so long, Marianne, it's time that we began to laugh and cry and laugh about it all again. Well, you know that I love to live with you, but you make me forget so very much. I forget to pray for the angels, and then the angels forget to pray for us. What a great line. That's great. We met when we were almost young, deep in the green lilac park. You held on to me like I was a crucifix as we went kneeling through the dark. I love that. So that kind of shows their relationship right there, where he says, you held on to me like I was a crucifix, something that would save her, something that she felt comfort in, you know? Your letters, they all say that you're beside me now, then why do I feel alone? I'm standing on a ledge and your fine spider web is fastening my ankle to a stone. That's beautiful. Oh, you really such a, or I'm sorry, sometimes I can't read. Oh, you are really such a pretty one. I see you've gone and changed your name again. And just when I climb this whole mountainside to wash my eyelids in the rain. Oh, so long, Marianne, it's time that we began to laugh and cry and laugh about it again. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You can definitely tell just from the lyrics here and of course what we read before, just how close he felt to Marianne. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and get into the next track here, which is going to be, hey, that's no way to say goodbye. Let's go.
Eyes are soft with sorrow. Hey, that know that we are not new in city and in forest.
This song, even though there's a little bit of a sadness to it, of course, you know, talking about saying goodbyes and these two people separating for whatever reasons. Even though there's a little bit of a sadness to it, just musically, there's a little bit of a springy step and a little bit of a bounce to it, like a prancing. There's a prancing rhythm here that I really like, especially in the last line of every stanza where he's, you know, she's saying, hey, in that long sustained note, and then he kind of bounces off of that sustain with his own line, hey, that's no way to say goodbye. Which I thought was really interesting, the way that that's done, because it's just so bare that it stands out even more. Once again, the tenderness of his voice really shows through. There's an instrument behind the guitar, and I can't quite tell what it is. It sounds like, God, I can't even think. It's like an Eastern stringed instrument, and it's kind of like I don't know what it is. It's not a sitar, I don't think. It very well could be, for all I know. But there's just something like so faintly in the back that's making, it has to be another stringed instrument, that's making a sound that's kind of like warped, like, I don't know, there's something back there. I was trying to hear it like several times, but it was just so faint, I might even be wrong. There might not be anything back there besides just an extra guitar, for all I know. But I think there's something back there that was making a different kind of noise. But I like that. This is another beautiful song, another very heartfelt track. This could be also, once again, about Mariana. Or Marianne, I'm sorry. It could be. Maybe. He said he got many inspirations from her, and that she was his muse, in a sense. I don't know. But let's read the lyrics anyway. I loved you in the morning, our kisses deep and warm, your hair upon the pillow like a sleepy golden storm. Yes, many loved before us, I know that we are not new. In city and in forest they smiled like me and you. But now it's come to distances and both of us must try. Your eyes are soft with sorrow, hey, that's no way to say goodbye. I like that. These two people have found this connection with each other, a very deep connection. And they're admitting, like, yeah, they've been with other people and such, that's not an issue, but they found something like close, something comforting with one another. And yet, for whatever reasons, they still have to say goodbye. I'm not looking for another as I wander in my time. Walk me to the corner, our steps will always rhyme. You know my love goes with you as your love stays with me. It's just the way it changes like the shoreline and the sea. But let's not talk of love or chains and things we can't untie. Your eyes are soft with sorrow. Hey, that's no way to say goodbye. I really like that line. Let's not talk of love and chains and things that we can't untie. Things that we can't break apart. Let's not talk about those things right now because we do need to separate. We do need to break apart for whatever reason. Then he repeats some of the lines he said before about the morning kisses, deep and warm, in a city of forest, blah, blah, blah. Actually, he just repeats the lines from before. So all these connections that they feel with one another, it seems that they're not willing to take whatever final step that is in the relationship. He says, don't talk about love. Don't talk about change. Don't talk about these things that are going to tie us down. For whatever reason, their connection, as deep as it is, it's either better for them to be separate or something is separating them. But either way, it's sung with such tender care, and that's really beautiful the way that that's done. It says that Cohen wrote the song when staying at the Penn Terminal Hotel. He wrote, "The room is too hot. I can't open the windows. I am in the midst of a bitter quarrel with a blonde woman. The song is half written in pencil, but it protects us as we maneuver each of us for unconditional victory. I am in the wrong room. I am with the wrong woman." That's an interesting way to write about that. Let's move on. Let's go to the next track, which is going to be Stories of the Street. Let's go.
The stories of the street are mine. Why are the armies marching still? To the slaughterhouse I will wait there with the lamb.
It's a first listen, but this is my favorite song on the album thus far besides Suzanne. This is, I want to know, like, is this one of Cohen's like more well-known songs, or is this like a fan favorite? This is an immediate favorite. I love this track, Stories of the Street. The density of the guitars. His voice is just a sprinkle, just a taste, just a tick up, a little more dramatic. The bass inclusion, you get a little bit of organ in there, like just a couple lines. This is Stories of the Street. So you have Willie Ruff on the bass, who we've talked about in a little blip we read about the album and the making it, and this is who Cohen felt very comfortable with. I love his bass playing here. Love the way that it graces this particular track. It's something that, while wasn't needed, was missing from the rest of the album. Like I said, it wasn't needed. It's nice, but when it comes out of nowhere and it just surprises like it does here, it's like that. It just fills that extra room. It fills that emptiness. Love that. And I think, I don't know because I don't know guitars and tunings and such, but it sounds like the guitar is tuned maybe a little bit different than either the previous tracks or maybe different from a conventional tuning of some sort. Because some of the way that the guitar was being played, I know I'm going way far into a totally different genre and such, but some of the ways that the guitar was being played here reminded me of like Opeth in like I don't remember the album, but like their Blackwater Park, Ghost Reverie kind of days. The guitar just seemed tuned a little bit differently. But God, I love the way that he's playing it. I love the way that it all sounds. I'm really enjoying Ruff on the bass here. And that little organ, like I said, tasty. Tasty. The stories of the street are mine. The Spanish voices laugh. The Cadillacs go creeping now through the night in the poison gas. And I lean from my windowsill in this old hotel I chose. Yes, one hand on my suicide, one hand on the rose. I know you've heard it's over now and war must surely come. The cities, they are broken half and the middlemen are gone. But let me ask you one more time, O children of the dusk. All these hunters who are shrieking now, Oh, do they speak for us? This is interesting. So stories from the stories of the street. So I'm imagining that he's in his hotel and he's looking down upon the streets below. Perhaps he's lived there for a long time. He's seen the people. He's seen how the city moves and how it breathes and how it lives. And he's just writing his thoughts on the city. He says there's no middlemen now. The city's divided into two groups. These two groups could be anything. Could be political, could be religious, could be cultural, could be so many things, but in some way he sees that the city is divided. And he even questions, he says, all these hunters who are shrieking, do they speak for us? The question is, who is us? Who is he including himself with? And who is he including himself in? Like what group? And where do all these highways go now that we are free? Why are the armies marching still that you are coming home from me? O lady with your legs so fine, O stranger at your wheel, you are locked into your suffering, and your pleasures are the seal. I really like the line, where do the highways go now that we're free? We have our freedom, and there's these highways, but where do they go? Why are the armies marching still that we're coming home to me? Could this be New York? He says, oh lady with your legs so fine, like Lady Liberty, Statue of Liberty. Could it be New York that he's talking about? The age of lust is giving birth, and both the parents ask the nurse to tell them fairy tales on both sides of the glass. I like that, on both sides, patient and therapist. And now the infant with his cord is hauled in like a kite, and one eye filled with blueprints, one eye filled with night, one eye filled with plans for a future, one with darkness or something. There's something about this track, but I really think he's describing a city, perhaps New York, just because of the words he's using. With one hand on the hexagram and one hand on the girl, I balance on a wishing well that all men call the world. We are so small between the stars, so large against the sky, and lost among the subway crowds, I try to catch your eye. So the subway, this has to be about New York. It has to be. I really like the line, I kind of skipped over it, but he says, if by chance I wake at night and I ask you who I am, take me to the slaughterhouse, I will wait there with the lamb. I love that line. If he forgets who he is, if he loses himself, he's saying, not necessarily literally, but he says, take me to the slaughterhouse, I'll wait there with the lamb. Of course, waiting at the slaughterhouse with the lamb, other animals, but also Jesus, religious context there. That's just really cool. I think he's talking about the city and just drawing all these deep metaphors and meanings from it as he's looking down upon it, but I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about in this one, so let's refer to this interview here. It says, presuming this song to be inspired, at least in part, by Cohen's 1961 Havana adventure. Okay. I don't know why I did any of these things. I do remember that Fidel Castro used to be laughed at in America. He'd make these 5-hour speeches, and he'd say, they're going to invade us, and people thought that was a big joke. But I thought they were going to invade them. So I went down there and immediately found myself accurately described as a bourgeois individualist poet. I think I said that wrong. I said, that's right, suits me to a T. I wrote a poem in one of my early books, The Only Tourist in Havana Turns His Thoughts Homeward. I was walking on the beach in the middle of one night and was suddenly surrounded by about 11 guys with Czechoslovakian submachine guns. I was an American who didn't speak Spanish, and they thought I was the first guy off the landing boat. I was the first guy arrested, etc., etc. It kind of goes from there. I'm not necessarily seeing anything in this story that I would think relates to the song, because even before I started reading this, it says presuming this song to be inspired, at least in part. So I don't know if that's what this song is actually about, or if that's what someone else is interpreting the song to be about. I'm looking around just to see if I can find any other little notes on it, but I don't really see anything else on this particular track here. But honestly, this and Suzanne, right now this, are my favorite tracks on the album. And this album has been a joy to listen to so far. So let's move on to the next track, which is going to be Teachers.
I met a man who lost his mind in some lost place I had to find. I spent my hatred every place. Are your lessons done? Are your lessons done?
Hey, really quick, I just want to say that Leonard Cohen on the album cover kind of looks like Al Pacino a little bit, just a little bit. So this track, I love, once again, everything about it. I want to focus though on the guitar. Obviously, it's being played like very rapidly, very intricately. But then once again, there's that Eastern instrument, whatever it may be, another Eastern stringed instrument that's here. And now we also have the inclusion of some extra percussion, not like the brushes on the snare that we had before, but now it's probably, I don't think it's tabla or anything like that, but you have some sort of, I would imagine, hand percussion that's going on in the back. And just every once in a while, it kind of peaks up and you hear a little bit of that boom, that little bass in there, and then it kind of relegates itself to the sideline again. But how interesting is the composition? And honestly, listening to this album as the debut and just seeing how already it's like really, really good, it makes me really, really curious to hear how his musical career develops and how his sounds and composition develops from here. Because knowing nothing about Leonard Cohen, does he develop in a Scott Walker, David Sylvian kind of way? I know I always compare singer-songwriters to that, but I can't help it. It's just where my mind goes. Does he go into more abstract? Does he go into more pop, more folk? I don't know. I have no idea. That's part of the excitement of listening to a debut album like this. I met a woman long ago. Her hair the black that black can go. Are you a teacher of the heart? Soft. She answered no. Okay. So throughout this track, he's looking for a teacher of the heart. He's talking to these different people, some of who responded no. I met a girl across the sea, her hair the gold that gold can be. Are you a teacher of the heart? Yes, but not for thee. Nope. Next. I met a man who lost his mind in some lost place I had to find. Follow me, the wise man said, but he walked behind. How perfect is that? So he said, follow me, but he's behind. Next. I walked into a hospital where none was sick and none was well. That's not good. That's not good. When at night the nurses left, I could not walk at all. Morning came and then came noon, dinner time, a scalpel blade lay beside my silver spoon. Some girls wander by mistake into the mess that scalpels make. Are you the teachers of my heart? We teach old hearts to break. He's not finding what he wants. One morning I woke up alone, the hospital and the nurse is gone. Have I carved enough, my lord? Child, you are the bone. Cohen can deliver some deep lyrics that can really make you think. I ate and ate and ate. No, I did not miss a plate. Well, how much do these suppers cost? We'll take it out in hate. I spent my hatred every place, on every work, on every face. Someone gave me wishes and I wished for an embrace. That is so good. That is so good. Connecting the scalpel with cutting to the bone and eating it. I don't know. This is just so well written. Several girls embraced me then. I was embraced by men. Is my passion perfect? No. Do it once again. Oh, teachers, are my lessons done? I cannot do another one. They laughed and said, well, child, are your lessons done? And they repeat that, almost in a mocking way, but still, I think, kind of teaching him, are your lessons done? So perhaps these people were teaching him all along. He just didn't realize that he had been taught. He was expecting to be taught one way, and yet he was taught another. Let's go ahead and move on to the last track on this album, on our unexpected album listen of Leonard Cohen's album, his debut album, Songs of Leonard Cohen. Let's go. That's going to be One of Us Cannot Be Wrong. Sometimes you're both wrong.
I showed my heart to the doctor, and just when I was sure that his teachings were pure,
what a great winding down to end the album on. Like sincerely, what a great way to just kind of let that outro kind of go out. And even though there are some interesting elements in the outro, this was superb. This was a great listen. I love the whistling that takes over after the lyrics are done. And then I'm imagining it's just Leonard singing slash screaming at the very end underneath that. Of course, with the guitar still flowing through. That's an interesting dynamic. And he just, for the very last bit, he just kind of lets it go. He just goes, ah! He's done. He's done. This is a great way to wind down. This is a perfect send-off for the album. It kind of leaves you wanting a little bit more, to be honest. I think this album as a total, how long is this album, the runtime on this one? I don't have the exact runtime, actually. Let me see if I can pull it up here. 40 minutes. 41 minutes. I think that after 41 minutes, like, that's a perfect length, depending on what you're doing with your album, but, like, that's a good length to get in, make your point, get out. And many points were made on this one, like, a lot of points. There's so much going on in here, especially lyrically, I think is the important thing on here. Let's go ahead and read the lyrics for this final song, One of Us Cannot Be Wrong. I lit a thin green candle to make you jealous of me, but the room just filled up with mosquitoes. They heard that my body was free, then I took the dust of a long sleepless night, and I put it in your little shoe. And then I confessed that I tortured the dress that you wore for the world to look through. So he tried to make someone jealous, like he says, but it ended up kind of backfiring on him. That's one thing I'm getting. So maybe he's trying to get back at a person for something because he thinks that they're wrong, kind of based on the title of the track. I showed my heart to the doctor. He said I just have to quit. Then he wrote himself a prescription, and your name was mentioned on it. Interesting turn of events there. Then he locked himself in a library shelf with the details of our honeymoon. And I hear from the nurse that he's gotten much worse and his practice is all in a ruin. So maybe the person that Leonard's talking about also metaphorically ruined the doctor. So there was no cure in that way. I heard of a saint who had loved you, so I studied all night in his school. He taught that the duty of lovers is to tarnish the golden rule. And just when I was sure that his teachings were pure, he drowned himself in the pool. His body is gone, but back here on the lawn, his spirit continues to drool. Like a sprinkler system, I'm imagining just like reusing the water. So everyone that has been with this other person in some capacity ends up not in a good place, basically. An Eskimo showed me a movie he'd recently taken of you. The poor man could hardly stop shivering. His lips and his fingers were blue. I suppose that he froze when the wind took your clothes, and I guess he just never got warm. But you stand there so nice in your blizzard of ice, oh, let me come into the storm. So even though he's seen how this person affects everyone else, he's still saying, let me come into your storm. I would like to be with this person even still. Even after all the stories and experiences I've read and heard about when it comes to this person. Looking on the lyrics to see if I can find perhaps who this person is or what it's about. It says at the bottom, this song was inspired by Nico. Sylvia Simmons sums up the song as follows. One of Us Cannot Be Wrong, Leonard's wryly humorous song inspired by Nico about a man battered but unbroken by lust. Kind of like what we said, like no matter what, he still wants to be with this person. In fact, there was a period when Leonard Cohen was in love with Nico. Although he never won her, he was madly in love with her. Okay, interesting. This album is just filled with so much meaning. I wonder how long he was working on this album. Let me see if I can find like when he started working on it, because it was recorded October to November 1967 and then released December 1967. So only a few months between recording and such. And I wonder how much material he had written beforehand that he kind of came to the studio with and everything, you know? Because this album has such deep emotion and great writing. Like, excellent writing. Beautiful guitar. I love all the little instruments in here that also don't take away from any of the compositions. Like, it's still very bare, even with the few songs that have a little extra kind of going on in them. It never, ever takes away from that. I think that's absolutely gorgeous. Let me see if there's any extra information we want to kind of talk about before we end the video here. Just reading in general about his recording career, it says in 1967, which is when this album was released, disappointed with his lack of success as a writer, Cohen moved to the U.S. to pursue a career as a folk music singer-songwriter. He was a fringe figure in Andy Warhol's factory crowd. Warhol speculated that Cohen had spent some time listening to Nico in clubs, and that this had influenced his musical style. Okay, interesting. His song Suzanne became a hit for Judy Collins, and was for many years his most recorded song. Collins recalls that when she first met him, he said he could not sing or play guitar, nor did he think Suzanne was even a song. She sang, "He played me Suzanne." I said, "Leonard, you must come to me with this big fundraiser I'm doing." Jimi Hendrix was on it. He'd never sung in front of a large audience before. He got out on stage and started singing. Everyone was going crazy. They loved it. He stopped about halfway through and walked off stage. Everyone went nuts. They demanded he come back, and I said, "I'll come out with you." So we went out and we sang it, and of course that was the beginning. That's really awesome. So Judy Collins, I guess, had some hand in kind of not only maybe helping his career in some sense, sure, but also just kind of helping to get his name out there, it seems like. I think that's a really beautiful move, by the way. You know, he was, I guess, nervous or maybe whatever it was, but he stopped halfway, and she said, "I'll sing it with you. We'll do it together." And Judy Collins and Leonard Cohen performed together. That's so cool. That's that kind of camaraderie and like relationship that I think is really undersold and undervalued when it comes to music and relationships between artists. Anyways, whew, like I said, I wasn't expecting to do the whole album, and yet here we are, guys. Here we are. So sometimes the unexpected happens, but I think that, at least for myself, we're all better for it. I'm happy to have listened to that and experienced that. So please, 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 double please. Triple, please, even. Let me know your favorite tracks. Let me know what you thought of the album. Let me know what you think of Leonard Cohen in general. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. As I said, I'm not familiar with him, so this is my first taste of his music, and I'm really enjoying what I heard here, and I'm really excited to kind of hear where it goes from here in his career. Stories of the Street, like I said, is my favorite, with Suzanne coming in at a close second, but all of this I thought was just immaculate. Great, great folk writing. So let me know your thoughts below. Please, if you don't mind, please, press the like button. If you don't, just really quick before you leave, just really quick, press the like button. If you'd like, you can follow me on Twitter. I post some random things there sometimes. You can do that. You can also support the channel if you would like to support myself, help me out, help the channel financially. That's an option right there as well. You can sign up on Patreon. That's it, actually. That's all you can do, but I really hope that you enjoyed your time here. Really, really hope you enjoyed your time here. Hope this made you better, made your day a little bit better, made your day a little bit brighter. Maybe the day wasn't so bright today. Maybe there were things going on. Maybe your mind is somewhere else, and hey, that's okay, but I hope that this was at least a little mental break to kind of, like, refresh you a little bit, give you something to look forward to. So thank you so much for being here. Really enjoyed having you. Come on back tomorrow if you want. I hope to see you then. As a matter of fact, I will see you then. Come on back. Bye, guys.